Раз, два, три. Раз. Раз, два, три. И еще.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Проверка, меня слышно?
Еще разок.
Слышим вас хорошо.
Раз, два, три. Раз, два, три. Дамы и господа.
We start our work at the National Press Center.
Раз. Раз, два, три, четыре, пять, шесть, семь, восемь, девять, десять. Раз. Уровень бешеный. Раз. Прям реально бешеный уровень. Блять, я даже не знаю, как это. Даже не знаю. Раз, два, три.
Секундочку.
Раз, два, три. Раз, два, три. Сосисочная, закусочная. 32, 33, 34.
У меня уровень прям кошмарный, большой, зашкаливает сразу.
Сейчас, коллеги, секунду буквально будем начинать.
Let's wait for a second. We have some minor changes, and we should wait for a moment more. Well, colleagues, if everyone's ready, let's start. Good afternoon, dear colleagues, journalists, heads and representatives of the diplomatic missions in the Republic of Belarus. Today, traditionally, we carry out the briefing with the participation of all the representatives of the media according to an open list, and we deemed it possible also to invite the representatives of the diplomatic missions. So thank you for all those who showed their interest in the event despite the logistic and epidemiological difficulties that we have today. According to the list that we have today, there are about 50 people right now here. As for all those who are not able to be here, we have a stream on internet. I'm sure that everyone has noticed the very unusual format of today's briefing, and despite the fact that many people think that the situation is domestic in political character, our partners take it as a point to orient their international policies around the situation. And in many situations, the statements they make is based on fake news and false information. That's why we ask the representatives of the interested departments to provide us with the most detailed information in order to make the situation even more clearer. As you see, at the very last moment, the composition of the panel has changed. We've learned about the desire of Roman to communicate with the media, and we found an opportunity to organize that. The format of work is as follows. Every speaker will present their information on topics that were indicated as the topics for briefings, and then we'll have a Q&A session, and everyone will have an opportunity to ask their questions. Let's start with the situation with the Ryanair airplane. Many things have been said about the situation, but the situation continues, and as far as I understand, we have some new information to share. Good afternoon. I would like to ask the technical group to switch on the map. As we know, on the 23rd of May at 9:03 p.m., the Republic of Belarus was the first party to make an official request to ICAO to have an international investigation with the aim to avoid politicizing of the aviation security issues and the necessity to rule out the tide of fake news that influenced a lot of people, including the specialists in aviation. On the 24th of May, together with the Air Force and Air Defense Commander-in-Chief, we held an open briefing where we presented all the details of the events that took place in the sky over Belarus, and no other party has shown such an openness. On the 28th of May, we made a report to the ICAO Council where we described all the circumstances of the event and once again invited all the interested parties to take part in the investigation. But we were surprised to see the reaction from the European states, the North American states and ICAO Council members that decided to remove the initiative of the Republic of Belarus to conduct a transparent investigation and hold accountable those responsible for the event. Only on the 4th of June, the ICAO Secretary General notified us that the investigation commission was established, but surprisingly, we have not been informed about the composition or the competences of the commission. Besides, nothing is being said about the visit of the commission of the members to the Belarus. We were just asked to send all the information to the ICAO, and by the way, partially, we already sent the relevant information on the 24th of May to the ICAO. This is our new normal. Without waiting for even preliminary outcome of the ICAO investigation, Europe, that stands for the rule of law, has plunged into lawlessness and violation of the norms of international air aviation laws that led to an instability and unpredictability that are the main enemies of the safety. And the most terrible thing is that many people still don't understand what they have done. Many structures and bodies in Ukraine, as for example, discriminating against Belarusian aircraft and air carriers, have introduced restrictions on using the airspace, airfields and ports of the European Union. And I would like to note that this has been done without the relevant ICAO Council decision as stipulated by Article 87 of the Convention. The very procedure for introducing restrictions defined in Article 84 to 87 of the Convention has been violated. That is why we can observe now that nobody but Belarus needs the investigation outcomes. And what law can we talk about if they did not allow us to repatriate our own citizens? We flew through neutral waters. We developed entire operations, rescue operations, in order to break through to our citizens. How easily our European... And when we asked for the data of objective control, we addressed Poland and Ireland, but we have not received any reply yet. But without the negotiations, we cannot make conclusions within the investigation. Without data about relevant crew negotiations, it's not clear for the Commission why the aircraft went to the very border at cruising altitude and speed and did not descend for a standard approach, and why the flight crew decided to proceed to Minsk. We need also other details, but not fakes. Understanding clearly that the requirements of the security that were observed by our part to a T, we still see some fake stories that the landing was forced and that the threat was imaginary. As a head of the aviation sector, that is a very difficult sector to handle, where the mistakes can cost a very terrible price, have a responsibility to declare that the threats were professionally identified in accordance with the ICAO Aviation Security Manual, as well as the fundamental principles of ICAO security. And we have to handle any anonymous threats as a real threat to life and health of people, as well as of flight safety. And today, for the first time, we wish to present the radio exchange between the ATC supervisor and Vilnius ATC center in order to debunk another myth that the crew was not given the possibility to contact Vilnius. Hello, Vilnius. Regarding the Ryanair flight from Vilnius to Athens, the crew asks the frequency to contact maybe the representatives of the company. Do you have such a frequency for them to communicate? I don't know. We have to contact the tower. So they need the company in Vilnius, the representatives. Yes, they need the representatives of the company in order for them to communicate about the situation. I will try to learn about that. Yes, we will wait for your information. Thank you. Good afternoon, Ryanair. Well, we have frequency 131750. This is a service that can actually provide communication with the Ryanair aircraft. Yes, thank you, because the thing is that we have information that there is a possibility of a bomb on board the plane, and the crew needs to consult the company before they take any decisions. Of course, we recommend to land in Minsk, but they need to consult their company, so they need this frequency to communicate. This is not an engineering problem. This is an emergency. So they need the communication with the representatives of the company. I'm afraid we don't have such a frequency. Well, I can try to learn to find any information. But I'm not sure. Well, you can use this frequency, but I'm not sure that it's an adequate one. But the crew probably knows the ways to communicate with their own company. Well, okay. Thank you for the frequency. This is our service, Garant service, but maybe they won't be able to help in any way. But anyway, you can use it. So if I have any further information, I will get through. I will give it to you. Yes, thank you very much. On the basis of the result of the radio exchange at 9:42. 48 ATC, this information was transmitted to the flight crew. I would like to draw your attention to the fact that on the 12th of June, an aircraft operated by a Russian airline in Belarusian airspace received information from the airport of departure in Moscow about a possible act of unlawful interference. The pilot in command made a decision to return to the airport of departure in Moscow, for which the aircraft made a U-turn literally near Minsk. And the civil aviation services and the state aviation operated according to the prescribed safety and security procedures. Thank you for your attention, and I'm ready to answer any questions. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the representative of the Ministry of Defense. I'm the commander of the Air Force Department, and we more than once presented the information available to us about the situation according to the data of objective control in terms of the situation in the sky over Belarus on the 23rd of May 2021. For more than once, we've presented proofs, and we presented these proofs to everyone who wanted to have an objective overview of the situation. So we've presented the data that the Air Force plane MiG-29 of the Republic of Belarus accompanied the foreign aircraft over the sky of Belarus only in safety preconditions. My colleagues from NATO, from countries that are neighboring with the Republic of Belarus, acknowledged that there was no forced actions from this aircraft. Various media, for more than once, present fake information about the interception and the forced landing, but this is not true, and today I have an opportunity to one more time present the information. Dear ladies and gentlemen, on the objective conditions of the situation around our airplane, and this information, this data, is available for us owing to the objective data control equipment of the Air Force of the Republic of Belarus. Please look at the first screenshot, and first of all, let me introduce a few terms. If we talk about the difference between the interception and accompanying of an Air Force, when the interception takes place, when the military aircraft gets into the same point of the airspace where the civil plane is being located. The intercepting plane, according to the ICAO document, uses the system of signals and radio signals, makes signals for the commanding pilot of the civil aircraft, some commands for them to follow. In simple words, the military aircraft must have a full visual contact with the civil board.
And then we see another term, which is escort. Escort is done when the interceptor does it parallel to the movement of the aircraft and the distance, and that allows the pilot-in-chief of the aircraft, of the intercepted aircraft, that do not allow that commander-in-chief of the intercepted aircraft to independently change the course of the flight. And the course of the flight is done by the maintenance, within the maintenance of the eyesight, eye contact, as well as the control done through the interception. And you see this time, Moscow time, that is being built time in Belarus, 12:31. Vilnius Minsk aircraft here crossed the border of the Belarus, and here we see the helicopter that performs the duty on state border control. And some mass media showed that the helicopter was at that time in the air, and he was able to intercept Boeing. Please take a look on the parameters. The height is 700 and the speed is 190 kilometers per hour, and the Boeing is at the speed of 1180 and goes at the speed of 828 kilometers. And we see the distance between them is quite extensive on this screenshot. Screenshot number 2, please. This is the screenshot that shows us the 12:47, 5 seconds, when commander of Boeing started to do the turn in the direction of the Republic of Belarus. Once again, I stress that before entering the space of Vilnius, we still have 2.5 minutes of flight. But the commander of the aircraft started to do the U-turn, and the other aircraft is not there. The fight aircraft is not doing anything. Screenshot number 4, please. 13:6:45 seconds. The aircraft escorted the fighter aircraft at 13:04 minutes sharp, 44 minutes. Please take note of the distance between Boeing and the fighter MiG-29, 130 kilometers. That is the distance between both aircrafts. And interception is a visual seizure of the flight on the go. Screenshot number 6, please. Here we see Boeing 737 is doing his preliminary preparation for the landing, and MiG-29 is flying above Machilishi area, and 55 kilometers is the area between the aircrafts. And so closer than that, MiG-29 wasn't to the Boeing 737. Once again, the data of State Border Control shows us that there was no forced landing, forced command to land the aircraft to the Ryanair and its Belarusian aircraft. But studying carefully the trajectory of the flight of Boeing 737 above the area of the Republic of Belarus, and according to the relevant guidelines and regulations, speaking about the landing in Vilnius, we do not see why the commander-in-chief was silent during 12 minutes in the call and communication between the aircrafts. Why it took so long him to make a turn before he reached the state border. Again, after landing the aircraft in Vilnius aircraft, there's still silence from the commander, from the pilot in command, and we haven't heard his statement as of the 23rd of May, and we still haven't got his comments except for one statement to the policeman in Vilnius which was removed later after, and then the policeman said there was no forced action in place, but then those comments were removed from all the sources of relevant online sources. And being a military serviceman, I have a lot of questions to the people in charge, and hopefully we will get the relevant answers from the relevant mass media sources. Please screenshot again of the U-turn when the decision was taken to do the turn within the airspace of the Republic of Belarus. So, what we see here, question number 1, why did the pilot-in-chief of Boeing 737 according to the guidelines, which is 37 kilometers away from the leader area, did not perform the landing before he was before he received the order to land in Vilnius. As we see, there was no descending action taken by the pilot. The aircraft was not descending, and thus, when the civil aircraft does not land in time, then all the citizens might be in danger, as well as the crew and the passengers, which can be then followed by traumas in ears and in limbs of people. So this is my question number 1. Why didn't the pilot begin to descend? Why did he also 20 minutes before the landing in Vilnius, and you see that on the screenshot, according to the screenshot, decided to take a turn away from the border of the Republic of Belarus, inside of the middle of the territory, when the dispatcher from airport Minsk 2, and you all heard the radio exchange between the two pilots, he was only recommended and not ordered to do so. And if you don't know what order is, then you could hear that order in the radio exchange above Ukrainian air territory, when the pilot was commanded to make a U-turn with the military action. And only in that case, we only heard the recommendation, and there was the decision taken before the state border of the Lithuanian border to come back to make a U-turn to Minsk to airport. And the last remark, once again, if I were giving in a good time, and I stress that in good time, if I was commanded or given the order by Ryanair to intercept the aircraft, like mass media sources in foreign countries say, that I would act according to specific, dramatically different actions and course of action. And my colleagues know that well, as well as I am well aware of the guidelines in place when they intercept the plane of the one who breaks the norms of the lawbreaker. And once again, the guidelines state that in that case, the interception area was exactly in leader area when the pilot in command was doing the turn. And so now, take all those coincidences. He's not descending. He's not crossing the border, and there is no obstruction for him to cross the border. And the seizure point counted precisely into the point when the pilot-in-chief was making the reach. So he was expecting the fighter plane in that area, but the fighter plane has other order in mind, and I was stating that repeatedly. Maturity area was the point of seizure when the dispatcher of Minsk airport 2 gave him a command to make a turn to guarantee the radio exchange between the communicators, and the main thing was to protect the citizens from any threat. Thank you for your attention, and I'm ready to answer all of your questions.
As far as I understand, some more information about the plane there is from Dmitry Yurich. Good afternoon. In terms of the airplane, yes, I have some additional information. The investigation committee launched an investigation in terms of the case of the information about the bomb on the board plane of Ryanair company, and currently we are preparing the requests for our foreign colleagues to provide us with some legal assistance. I would like to reiterate that recently we've seen much more cases of electronic terrorism. Starting with 2019, we've seen about 219 cases. Only this year, 130 cases were launched and investigated. Among them, there were several claims about bombs in airport Minsk 2 and on board the planes, and currently we are investigating these cases. In terms of this situation, I would like to underline that we are interested, like no one, in finding truth in this situation, in finding persons who sent this message and those who were interested in the situations that we've all witnessed in reality. The message was sent through the anonymous mail service proton.mail that is registered in Switzerland. That's why we would be really grateful for international communication and cooperation in this area. Unfortunately, such a cooperation leaves much to be desired, because I have few examples. In January 2020, the investigation committee sent a request for legal assistance to Switzerland in connection with the case of a message about the bomb in several buildings in the Republic of Belarus. The messages were sent from the same mail service, but we've received no reply to our requests. I hope that in this situation we'll see some different reaction. Thank you. Thank you, Dmitry Yurevich. Andrei Viktorovich, now the floor is yours, and let's discuss your topic. You're welcome. Good afternoon. The reason for my participation in this press conference is an opportunity to inform you about the actions of some unknown persons that pose themselves as journalists and use substandard means to get information about the border activities of one of the units of the border guard service of the Republic of Belarus. In June, at about 5:30 in the morning, 2 unknown people with a microphone and a video camera left a vehicle belonging to Lithuanian border guards and were accompanying the border guard service unit along the state line, asking them questions. And in this case, we cannot actually understand both the actions of the so-called correspondents, journalists, and the border guards. As for getting information, we prefer the traditional means, and it's highly interesting for us why the Lithuanian party resorts to such activities. The border guards services of the Republic of Belarus adheres to all the agreements and regulations in relations with all the neighboring states. I would like to show you a table. In particular, here you can see the data on the results of joint activities on prevention of illegal migration to the countries of European Union. This data was taken from the materials of official exchange of information between border guard services. And here you can see that 3 states of the European Union sees together the same quantity of violators of the border law as the Republic of Belarus alone. You can see the figures of the interception of illegal channels of migration to the European Union. At the border with Lithuania and Latvia, we together identified the directions of illegal activities, and each party has equal opportunities like engineering equipment and other equipment and facilities that help us to focus on different areas of this direction. For example, the Belarusian border guards focus on one direction, while their colleagues from Latvia and Lithuania on another one. More than 150 kilometers of complex season systems were established along the border. Following the global tendencies around the situation with the Republic of Belarus and following the practices of different countries, the priority for the Border Guard Service of the Republic of Belarus is the prevention of illegal activities at the border of the Republic of Belarus. At the same time, the country is open for any citizen of any state that legally arrive to Belarus. At the same time, we do not differentiate between migrants or non-migrants, and we do not create barriers for them to cross the country, to transit the country. We focus on activities to prevent illegal activities in the Republic of Belarus, but we still see some vulnerable points at several areas of a state border line. We do not have appropriate engineering facilities there, and that hampers the development of our prevention activities. As for the violation of agreements from our Lithuanian colleagues and their unprofessional evaluation of the actions of the border guard servicemen, all these leads to establishment of more fake stories and news. This year, when the legal demands of the border guards were not observed, the unidentified persons, 5 people, left their vehicle and tried to cross the border. The information about that was timely sent to the border guards of Lithuania. Can you please show the first video? Now you'll see the video with the specific place where the violation of border took place and all the procedures that were carried out by the Lithuanian border guards in terms of one of the persons who tried to violate the state line border. Please pay your attention to the one part of the state line, which is a controlling means that helps to identify footprints of those who try to cross the border illegally. And these footprints generally are a proof that people were trying to illegally cross the border between Belarus and Lithuania. Instead, the information about these people and the circumstances of the event were not related to the Belarusian party. One more time, let me repeat that footprints that we can see on land when people cross the border illegally, and you can see the footprints here, both at the territory of the Lithuanian side of the border and the Belarusian side of the border. This is a continuation of the situation. You can still see how the Lithuanian border guard tries to delete the footprints and to reinstate the original state of this controlling measure. According to the agreements, they had to inform about the footprints. They must have informed about the footprints, and we can still see some of them. And I would like to comment on the video that you can see in some media that was spread by the Lithuanian border guards that states that the Belarusian border guards are not do not carry out their activities responsibly, and that they tried to delete the footprints of those who try to cross the border illegally. This is a fake, And I think that you can see the video. It's a short video, and it's obvious from this video which the nature and the situation. You can clearly see the line of land with the footprints, but still we do not know the date or the time of the event, and our border guard service was carrying out their planned activities at the border of two states. At the end, I would like to note that the border guard services of the Republic of Belarus adhere to all the obligations according to international agreements with the neighboring states, and we protect the border professionally, in a professional manner. Despite the epidemiological, political and other factors, starting with 2011, we've been carried out the transit of the citizens of Ukraine from borderline settlements outside the official border guard points for seasonal works like gathering cranberries and blackberries, which actually contributes to the improvement of their material well-being. And this year won't be an exception. We will let the Ukrainian citizens to cross the border one more time this year. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dmitry Yurich. As for the circumstances that we've stated as a topic of the meeting. Currently, in Poland, at the highest political level and in the media, they discuss the topic of expatriation of 5 citizens of the Republic of Belarus that are persecuted here in Belarus according to the criminal code. At the same time, the Polish side produces some contradicting statements. First of all, they state the forceful character of this expatriation, and at the same time they say that Polish Foreign Affairs Ministry took an active part in this process. In fact, as for three accused ladies, the restriction measures were cancelled, and they are currently were released outside the territory of the Republic of Belarus, and that took place at the initiative of the Polish side. Let me note that the official also asked to preserve the confidentiality, and we've adhered to this agreement, but the further discussion of the situation in the media by the Polish colleagues and the spread of facts that are actually very far from being real, we would also like to share our information on the real state of affairs. As the press secretary of the President of Belarus, the representative of Ukraine, following the request from the President of Poland, asked the President of Belarus to release some people who were accused of the hate crimes in the Republic of Belarus and instigation of different divisions in the territory of the Republic of Belarus. We've then held a meeting with a Polish representative. We've organized a meeting with Consul Mr. Andrzej Raczkowski, and he had an opportunity to visit the accused. And one of them, together with the Belarusian citizenship, has Polish citizenship. All 3 ladies voluntarily expressed the desire to leave the Republic of Belarus, and now I would like to ask you to show the video. Good afternoon. My name is Andrzej Raczkowski. Thank you for the time for this meeting. Yes, please have a seat. And thank you for this meeting. And let me be short. My superiors asked me to ask you whether it's possible to meet some people from the Union of Poles in Belarus. There are 5 people here in Belarus. Yes, I think here in this situation we can actually accommodate your request and organize such a visit, such a meeting. And we've discussed this issue, and here we are ready to organize everything in order for you to communicate them, to talk to them. So we will deal with the issue. And if this is an only issue, we will have to deal with some organizational moments, and such as when you would like to have this meeting, when it's actually comfortable, when it's actually possible, but let's not postpone it. So what time do we need to organize the meeting? Well, about a day, I think. I was appointed to meet you, to visit you, and to ask you about a very delicate issue. If you had an opportunity to be released under a condition to leave the country without your family, would you agree to such an offer? Yes. I was appointed to deal with your case and to learn what is your decision, your position, and your opinion. So just think for a bit and ask me and tell me if you have an opportunity, if you would have an opportunity to leave the country and to move to a more friendly environment. What would you do? I know this is a very hard decision. You see me for the first time, but please believe me, we are trying to find a solution to such a situation. So just think and say. So we just need your decision in order to try to change the situation. Yes, I'm ready. I just want to leave. I just want to be released. Now let's make it down to business. Please think and think it over so that the decision is balanced and well thought over. So I have such a question for you. We have different variants and different options, but if you had an opportunity to be released and leave the country for some time, how would you react to such an opportunity? What would you do? Think I just want it to be your decision because that would be best for you. And I just want to hear your position. Yes, yes, very well.
Please let me finish, then I'll go to the questions. So, as a result of the further work of the investigation and the special services of both of the states, we changed the decision, and we also cooperated with the transfer of citizens, where they were welcomed by the Polish representatives and were admitted to the relevant territory. No violence and no obligation was taken in terms of these individuals. I would kindly ask you to show another video. So the change of the court decision and the assistance of the to the part of citizens was just the sign of friendship and good neighborship qualities from the Republic of Belarus. And this question was resolved along the special security forces. All the citizens were able to freely and unobstructedly leave the country, and now they are the accused of the criminal case, under the criminal case, and which is waiting to be resolved. So the principle of confidentiality was violated by the Polish side. Again, puts under threat the statement of the Polish authorities on the accused of that case, and I think the destiny is not very much of the interest of all the citizens here, of the present here. I would just say that this statement was an attempt to gain some political wins, and of the again using the people that they allegedly care about. Thank you, Dmitry Yurievich. Roman Protasevich, you have the floor. Well, I think I will just start from answering the questions by my colleagues and the representatives of the diplomatic authorities. No questions. If everyone agrees, then we can start with the questions. I would kindly ask you to present yourself, starting with one question at a time, to state the subject of the question. If I'm not recognizing someone in Moscow, Roman, and I have a question to you. In the morning in Telegram, there was an info that in KGB you were beaten up personally by Alexander Lukashenko, and during the interview to ONT you had the signs of the battle, those red signs on your arms. What was those injuries? When I'm a bit worried, I have to say. Just 2 hours ago I was notified about this joke. I wouldn't even comment this kind of joke. This is just ridiculous. Given my hands, you can all see that those are the signs from the arrest, because the officers were so surprised that they didn't have handkerchiefs on them. And so this is the only thing that can be different. So those were clamp bands. And secondly, speaking about my health issues, being held in penitentiary authority, I heard a lot of fake news about my health state. I have to say that I feel wonderful. I have great mood and I have no worries. If someone has doubts, I would be happy to rebuttal them with the necessary medical checks and expertise. Thirdly, this will be a statement to my colleagues that were also writing something about my health issues. Dear friends, as you can see yourself, I feel wonderful, I feel great, I have no complaints, nobody touched me, nobody used any force. And I would just kindly ask you not to spread any further rumors, because of the one reason, because the real offender, the people who suffered from this situation was Sofia and my parents, who are now in Poland and in this information vacuum situation. Gentlemen, please just think about the direction of your mother if you would find yourself in such a situation and you would be told that your son is being beaten up, even though this is a blatant lie, and everyone sees me and I'm in my best. So I would kindly ask you to stop spreading the rumors without any substantiated evidence. And moreover, I would say that I understand my parents, how they feel now, and all those words coming from the care for my parents, because I'm totally fine, but their parents are the ones who are suffering from this situation. They're just being used. They're just those people just been giving those blunt protests with the people behind the backs of from the political scene, and I just don't know what to do, to be honest. And I'm more than sure that my parents can be safely returned to their home country, homeland, and then I would also, I would also say to my parents, Mom and Dad, please, no worries, I feel totally fine. Another questions, colleagues? Vislav Vasily Moshenkov, what kind of the oligarch you were mentioning, can you state the name, the company, and how do you feel being on the other side as a speaker and a journalist? First, speaking about the speaker, as you see, I'm a bit worried, but I think we'll handle this quite all right. And speaking about the oligarch and about all this situation, you know, everything that I remember, I mentioned. I have nothing to add here, and I would also say that I just don't understand all those allegations and asking me about some specific names or data. I can't remember neither the name of the company, and everything I had to say, I said in the interview to Mr. Markov, and I have nothing to add here. Thank you. Colleagues, more questions? You're welcome. Переводчикам не слышен вопрос. Did you communicate with the Ryanair specialists? And are there any official contacts between Ryanair? Although this goes not in line with the Constitution and this violates the rights of our citizens. Speaking of the first remark is that any official data is given to the representatives of the investigative committee. Thank you. So that the representatives of any foreign state could participate in any kind of investigative action and legal action with Roman Protasevich, or order extradition, should be done within the regulations of the international orders and requirements that are filed according to the regulatory acts and guidelines the Republic of Belarus is party to, and within the domestic legislation. As of today, no such requests or orders from foreign states in order to conduct such investigative action were not given. Thank you. Speaking of the protests that are now being already external, speaking about my own experience with national TV, I would say that I didn't see any kind of significant forces or number of people. But speaking about Latushka, even the information I had before entering Belarus, I can't say that he's doing all right. As I mentioned, the flat for 3,000 euro. One of the now specialists said anonymous information on the Pavel Pavlovich life, and that he really resides in this apartment. But I should say it's not the biggest problem with Mr. Latushka. The biggest problem here is that, given the information I have, and given that I've communicated with a lot of people, Pavel Pavlovich was faced an ultimatum by the Polish authorities. I will explain why. Poland and Lithuania have been in dispute on the Belarusian issue. And officially, Warsaw is represented by Latushka, and given that he was inactive, he received a specific order that before September he should activate his actions and show his point of view and his political views as well, as we saw that on the 9th of May. But we see another failure. So Mr. Latushka is not doing good, and once again, as the same as 3 weeks ago, the situation is still this like this. Roman, why you offered freedom in exchange of the cooperation? Like your participation here, your statement, was there any order, something offer like that? Honestly speaking, I have to state that there was no kind of offer or bargaining with the investigative committee, and this event is voluntary, such as the interview to Mr. Markov. Nobody forces me to do so, and I was never forced to fully cooperate with the investigation. This is only my free choice and my free will, and if anyone should be interested in that fact, I can explain why I do this. Here I probably should give more details on the situation. In fact, my cooperation with the investigation is not was not anyhow connected with the performance or with the statement, and this was done only by me. I understand what a blow that was for the state and for the nation, and I will do the utmost to turn this around. And I can also add some details. I know what is written on the internet and Telegram chats, and I know that many call me a traitor already, and I should say I have my conscience clean, and I'm not betraying anyone. I have no regrets. I cooperate with the investigation. I am being cooperative and helpful to my country, and this is what I'm planning to do in the future. Speaking of traitor, non-traitor, I should say the following. I just want to tell you some pre-history about that is related to my way into journalism. I would just give you one of my secrets, one of my fear. One of my biggest fears is, no matter how strange that would sound, I'm afraid of dying knowing that I had no contribution to the people, myself, political force, opposition, state, not this thing, but to the people. I have to contribute. This is why back in 2012, I became a journalist, and I used to work in many publishing houses. I've written hundreds of thousands of articles, have traveled around the globe, and only later, even when I was already introduced in Nechta project, I was doing journalism very seriously already. And from my professional insight and my professional ego, I'm happy to be connected to such a huge project. Me being an editor only for a year made the most readable mass media source as of August 2019, and I'm extremely grateful to the team who worked with me. Those are great people, still great ones, the ones I planned the first protest events starting from August, and I sincerely believed and trusted in what I did, because I did that out of my convictions. I never had a lot of money. I never followed any kind of political interests of any kind of country. And later, again, as I probably mentioned already, Nechta project was done for me because I saw what kind of processes are underway, and I was afraid that Nectar project would follow the lead of Charter 97. It will lose audience, it will be meddled in some political games. And when Mr. Zerembuk was introduced into the project, we saw specific political shifts, and this is a topic for another discussion, I would say. And leaving the project and leaving Warsaw, I hope that I will arrive in Vilnius, I will work with Tsikhanouskaya, and I will meet those idealists. And I have to be honest, at first, during those first months, I saw a lot of people just like me, sincerely believing in what they did, not because of material goals or ambitions, and I really saw a lot of people around me, but unfortunately later I saw the situation change drastically. The lesser were the protests, the calmer the situation became, the more internal disputes we saw, or some kind of empty political games that I was always trying to avoid, and people's self-ambitions as well. And all those things I truly believed on started to develop into some internal conflicts and disputes, and everything that happened from the end of the autumn and is still happening has left me in a very deep sense of feeling of dissatisfaction, because I really believed in those ideals. I really believed in that everything is possible, and just in general this is my disappointment.
So when you traveled from Athens, you've already been disappointed, and when this plane landed, well, there was no additional factors that aggravated your situation. Let me tell you even more. In general, you can actually contact my former colleagues, and they will prove that I wanted to leave political movements and Telegram channels altogether. I wanted to be a photographer for Ms. Tikhanovskaya, and that's it. I wanted to make photos, and that's it. I wanted to leave politics, to refrain from these political games, because I didn't want to take part in them. So why should I be forced? You must understand one more thing, and I didn't change my political views. As earlier, I can say honestly and very openly that I won't be a political supporter of Mr. President. That's it. Yes, I respect him as a human, and I'm sincere in my respect for this human who actually managed to stay strong amid this very difficult situation. But I'm not his supporter, and I won't join the state party in political sense of the word. I just wanted to provide you with the reasons why I cooperate with the investigation, and there was no additional pressure, and no one used some electric shockers or truth drugs. Why? I am quite sincere. Do you believe me? If you don't, just tell it. Well, judging by the silence, I don't believe. It's very difficult to believe that you are sincere, and I feel sorry for you, and many people in Belarus feel sorry for you, as well as many for your colleagues. I don't believe a word you say, because I think I know what they could have done to you. Just stay strong. And Roman, do you have something to answer? I'm quite okay. Well, of course, detention facility is not a flat in Vilnius or any other favorable conditions, but I understand why I am under investigation, and I understand the crimes that are incriminated against me. I made my statement. I agree with them. I would like to ask a question about Sofia Sapega. What are the reasons for Sofia Sapega was detained in Minsk airport, and what the official accusations against her? Sofia Sapega was detained in airport Minsk too, as she allegedly is responsible for a crime committed under Article 242, participation in mass riots, but practically immediately she was accused of another criminal case that is investigated under the Article 130, Part 3, which is hate crimes and instigation of hate and divisions. The measures taken were quite logical, and they can be actually explained. Sofia was an administrator of a Telegram channel that actually published the personal data of some military servicemen and their family members and the public officials, as well as some common people and their family members. These channels are the Belarus's Black Book and other Telegram channels where she administrated. Naturally, we carried out an investigation, and we are carrying out the investigation since autumn, and we've found new facts, and we've known about Sofia Sapega and her activities as an alleged administrator of such Telegram channels. And after she happened to be here, after she was detained in the airport, she actually told that she was an administrator of some Telegram channels, and we've got some facts to start the procedure within the criminal code. She's accused. She's been accused under article on organization of activities that are violating the public order, and she's an accused in this case. Dear colleagues, some more questions? Deutsche Welle, please, you're welcome. If we are talking about the accusations, could you please provide us with more details about the accusations against Roman, because he's accused in terrorism activities, and we would like to learn some more details about his activities. If in detail on Roman is accused on 3 cases: organization of activities violating the public order and the law. This is Article 342 of the Criminal Code. Then organization of mass disorder and riots. And moreover, the hate crimes and instigation of hate and division on the basis of professional activities under the Criminal Code of the Republic of Belarus. More questions, please? I have a question for Roman. Roman, could you please tell us everything that we saw on ONT channel? Is this true? Could you please answer as a journalist? Do you mean the interview to Mr. Markov? Yes. Yes, absolutely. I can actually tell you even more. We've filmed for more than 4 hours, and we've managed to discuss many issues. But absolutely, I can say that everything that was said was absolutely sincere and honest. And yes, I actually can confirm every word that I said during that interview. The question for the head of the investigation committee. During the interview, Roman didn't name the sponsor of the Telegram channel. Would you request PayPal to give you information on the sponsor? Within the investigation, we will check all the circumstances, including the financing of the Telegram channels, and naturally we will carry out our work in the most comprehensive way possible. We sent requests to many states and structures, but we doubt if we get responses. You promised that we'll get back to the case of the Poles. At the end, I would will make a riddle for everyone who's present. Roman, did you see Sofia? Did you see Sofia after she's been detained? No. How can I see her if there is no procedure that provides for that? There were no interrogations that were carried out together. I have a question on the videos that you've shown on the case of the Poles. Did Consul know that the meeting was recorded on video, and did the detainees know? Yes, I understand your question. Yes, I think he guessed, but he didn't know. But if you hint that this video was filmed in violation of some laws or rules, I can say that as for the persons who are detained within this case as accused, the prosecutor's office gave the sanctions to carry out all the activities, including this one, so I didn't have to notify anyone. But this is a consul, and we are talking about the diplomatic status. He wasn't even touched. But the contents of the private talks, I explained why we publish this information. We do it in response, and it's not within the criminal case. Colleagues, if there are no more questions, Roman, please. I've just remembered one political riddle, a political puzzle. There is a person, a woman, a politician, and she lives in one of the European countries. She called for non-paying taxes, to ignore the official politicians and authorities. She called on the army to join her side and to any other illegal activities. Can you guess who she is? No variants. Don't you have any variants, or you are just scared to tell? So if there are no variants, then I'll tell you the answer to the riddle. It's Monika Under from Austria. In 2019, she got 14 years in prison for an attempted ride. I think this case is quite familiar. Roman, when you were detained, we got information from your colleagues that you've contacted them from Athens, that you've seen some people who were following you in the airport. If you wanted just to serve your country, why didn't you go then to them and tell all the truth? I have never told anyone that they were people from the KGB. I guessed that they were from the special services, but you must understand that I was followed everywhere, both in Warsaw and Vilnius, but I don't think that they were from Belarus. And yes, of course, a person approached me, but I can't say he was from Belarus. The last question, and we will finish. One more question for Roman. In an interview to Mr. Markov, you said that you give unique information. I understand that this is an investigation, but can you please just outline what kind of unique information you are providing? This information is of all different sorts, and if I have one more opportunity to communicate to all of you and provide you with more details, because the topic of this press conference is a little bit different, and if I have an opportunity to meet you one more time, I think we will discuss these issues in more detail. That's it, colleagues. Thank you for your participation. Thank you very much.